My name is Daniel. I'm an explorer and urban photographer in the West Texas region. I've always been fascinated by abandoned places, the heavy silence of ghost towns, nature reclaiming what was once taken by man. In early March, I ventured into the heart of Texas in search of the old El Dorado, a village that thrived in the 19th century, but now lies dry and forgotten in the desert. The trail to get there was hard to access, cut through dry brush and scorching stones under the sun. The feeling of isolation was almost tangible. There was nothing but the wind carrying the scent of dry earth, the distant song of birds, and sometimes the creak of steel from deteriorating structures. As I walked down the main street, my eyes captured every detail. Broken windows, old cars half buried, rusty signs. It was a perfect scene for photos showcasing forgetfulness, until something changed the course of that day. When I reached a small building, an old mechanic's workshop, I heard a strange whisper, a faint hissing coming from deep inside a dark basement. An instinctive curiosity pushed me toward the entrance. Little did I know I was about to face fear personified. There, coiled in a corner, was a monstrous snake, at least 3 meters long, its robust body with scales reflecting the setting sun as if they were wet. Its eyes burned like embers, black and endless, watching every move I made. My body froze. Adrenaline took over. The creature was silent, but its presence screamed danger. It was the queen of that dead town, a living shadow breathing the silence of time. I took out my camera, trying to stay calm and capture a moment I would never forget. The snake moved slowly, slithering through rubble and rusted cars, disappearing under a pile of debris. I could hardly believe it was real. And don't forget to subscribe to the Serpent Shadows channel so you won't miss any realistic and chilling stories like this one. Ready for the next chapter of the Texas horror tale? My heart was still pounding when I got closer to the workshop area. The late afternoon heat seemed to increase the tension, making the air feel too thick to breathe. The silence was almost deafening until the hiss returned, this time clearer, closer. I held the camera tight, carefully placing each step to avoid making noise. I scanned the area and noticed huge marks on the ground, scratches and deep grooves, as if something giant had dragged its weight there recently. Suddenly, the monstrous python reappeared, sliding through a pile of metal debris. Its body was thick, covered in scales that gleamed under the last rays of the sun. Its eyes weren't just black. They held a mesmerizing presence, as if it understood no one had ever come this close before. Fear and fascination fought within me. I knew I was facing one of the most terrifying creatures in Texas's wild nature, but the impulse to capture everything made me forget the danger. Carefully, I took a few steps forward to snap more photos when it raised its head, sensing my movement. The hiss cut through the air, louder and more threatening. The body moved with silent power as it coiled partially, ready to strike if needed. I was overwhelmed with such intense adrenaline that I barely noticed my trembling hand as I pressed the camera button. With each click, it felt like I was challenging a force that didn't belong to the present, a primal force that ruled that forgotten part of the desert. Feeling that I couldn't tempt fate any further, I stepped back and slowly began to move away, listening to every sound and shadow until I was far enough to breathe a sigh of relief. The snake disappeared into the rubble, leaving behind the eerie silence of the abandoned town. Later, sitting in my car with the engine running, that feeling of vulnerability hit me unexpectedly. The ghost town seemed alive, not with people but with the presence of that ancient predator, watching everything, waiting for intruders. In the days following the encounter, the experience was marked in my mind with every step through the ghost town. I returned several times, always with extreme caution, knowing that the python was not just an animal, it was the dark spirit of that forgotten land. One afternoon, while exploring an old little used dirt road, I found more clear signs of its presence. Deep grooves in the sand, dark patches that seemed like old shed skin marks, and shadows moving at a distance between the dry desert bushes. On one trail, I heard a low growl that didn't belong to any common animal around. I turned slowly, my heart racing, only to face once again a dark, penetrating gaze emerging from the rocks. The python had company, 2 other large snakes, smaller but equally threatening. I felt the imminent danger, and the silence of the entire desert seemed to pass through my body. I understood that those ruins weren't just part of the past. They were sacred and deadly territory of a serpent family that ruled everything there. With a shiver that never left me, I slowly backed away, knowing that this primal force allowed no intruders. My team and I decided to limit our incursions, respecting the creature's space to avoid tragedy. Since then, that story taught me the greatest lesson. Respect for the wild is more than survival. It's recognizing the limits of human dominion. And what would you do in a terrifying encounter with a giant python? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to the Serpent Shadows channel for more real-life horror stories that will make your heart race. Night quickly fell on that forgotten desert, and with it came an even heavier silence, almost palpable, descending upon the ruins like a cloak of shadows. I knew I couldn't stay there much longer. The presence of that snake and its companions still vibrated in the air, as if the very ground held the memory of danger. As I walked back to the car, the flashlight sweeping across the rocky path ahead, I felt the weight of an invisible gaze following me. Every dry leaf that cracked under my feet seemed to amplify the fear growing inside me. Then I heard a hissing whisper from the rocks beside the path. My body froze, my heart raced. The python I had photographed reappeared, slithering with threatening slowness, moving toward the center of the road, blocking the only exit. Adrenaline took over, and without thinking twice, I ran the other way, feeling my breath short and the dust rising behind me. The desert seemed to close in as I sought shelter, knowing that those creatures had absolute control over that territory. I realized that the ghost town wasn't just a place forgotten by man. It was a living realm ruled by ancient and wild forces. The encounter with the giant python was a brutal lesson about respect, fear, and humanity's inability to control everything beyond its reach. Since that day, I avoid any trail through El Dorado. The dying town still stands there, under the scorching Texas sun, silent and watchful, guarding its secrets and the ancient serpents that continue to roam its shadows. Don't forget to subscribe to the Serpent Shadows channel for the darkest and most real snake tales. Share so more people can learn about these hidden terrors and stay alert to the shadows. Subscribe, like, and comment so you won't miss any spine-chilling stories from the depths of the wild.